Hey, it's Mike with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It's June 28th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and another very slow, very low volume day. We actually got a little movement after lunch, but we really didn't get a lot of opportunity to even enter that move. So if you didn't get in down here at the bottom, you pretty much missed it. So it, we're just not getting any movement. I mean, look at really from 9 o'clock until noon, right in here. I mean, that's all you had. You didn't move more than a couple of points in either direction. So this makes it really hard to trade because you're just not going to get any movement. So hopefully this thing's going to pick up. I just think at this price level, um, people are a little nervous about any continued buying. People are scared to sell it, but they're scared to buy it, it seems too. So we're just kind of like at equilibrium here. So just not much going on, not much volume, not much volatility. Hopefully it comes back soon. We'll have to see. I mean, there's a few trades here. Don't get me wrong. There's a chance for you to take a few trades, but really after 10 o'clock, that was pretty much it. And really, much after 9 o'clock, there's not really anything happened. There's a couple of chances to go short, but nothing spectacular or anything like that. So um, we'll work through these trades real quickly and wrap it up for today, and just hope that we may be in for the summer doldrums. They may be here for the count now. We may be August, September before the market picks back up. We'll just have to see. Every time we say that, though, suddenly something crazy happens and the market starts rolling again. So we'll see. Never count it out. And you can start out on a day like this and end with prices rocketing off and trending well. But I mean, there's no real chance for a second entry in here with a long-term trend. I mean, even where we trended here, there's not a single second entry there. So there's just not a lot of opportunity to enter a safe, uh, high probability trade. There's not many. So you have to take what it'll give you, or you have to just sit on the sidelines or take the day off. So anyway, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit, a little closer. You can see the day. It's just a sideways day. And this is your overnight highs and lows here. Really, most of your resistance was here early on. And we broke out of that. Then we had a failed break out the low side about the same. Then we just kind of jogged sideways here in a real tight couple of point range. And when we couldn't go back higher, that's a good clue that we're probably going to push on lower. And really all we got was two measured legs down here from this point here. And if you measured, another way you'd probably want to look at it is to measure this leg. But we came up pretty short of that, which would tell you that if we start trending up, we may trend more strongly in the other direction than we had, and that's what happened. You can see we got a nice little afternoon rally. So, I mean, that's about a 20-point move. It doesn't look like much, but in the end, I mean, we're around 65 here, 42.65. So that's a 20-point move, 20-plus point move. You just don't really get a chance to any really good setups to enter it, unfortunately. So um, anyway, again, let's zoom in here and go through the trades real quickly. 7 o'clock came on this pullback right here, and then we pushed up for a second leg. Notice you got two legs up here, and we got a little failed break higher. And we tried to go higher once. We tried to go higher twice. Uh, I marked this one red, but the key to this one is you need a little room back to that EMA. So you may let this break lower and drop a limit order or a tick or so back just to give you a little more room to try to get out. It doesn't matter. With this being a range, we're probably going back to the other side. And you can see we've swung through the EMA a few times, but we've bounced off of it a few times too. So you just have to be a little bit careful with that one, especially with it being sideways. And you can see we did get a little support off of it momentarily before we made another test and then went lower. So this one's close to being green, but with it being a failed second entry long, and you can clearly see that everything's closing back under that resistance line right there. I felt it was a pretty viable opportunity to get short and ride it back to the other side. And that's actually the trade of the day, really, other than maybe this back over here. And then, of course, we run down, we break out the low side, we kind of chop sideways and come back. There is a failure right here. Notice that new low, a first entry and a second entry. And it does close back above the support, but you really would want to see it act as support first. So I'm not crazy about there, but when it comes back right here, this is technically a double bottom. So first entry, then you get back in and come back, and that's a failed second entry short if it breaks higher than that. And so that gives you a chance to get long and try to ride this back up. Of course, it doesn't do that. You would have got your scalp, but not much more. But notice the short-term trend channel, and we get a break. First entry, there's a second entry long there. It bounces off that support, and you're looking for a retest of this high. And so it didn't really go anywhere. I mean, you had to tough this one out, really. But this is why a lot of times I tell you, don't monkey around with your trades, because when it goes sideways that long and you can't scalp out, it gets real, especially when it starts to go lower and gets real close. It's hard to hang on a trade like that. So again, you might have let this break higher and drop a limit order in just to give you a little more room. But you can see we go right back to the top in the end. And we test that a couple times. We made that high, then we test it once. We actually tested it twice there, but that's not a very good signal bar. But when we go back and test it again, and you finally get somewhat of a bearish bar right there in that many tests, you can see we've tested how many times we've tested that across there. We're probably going to go lower here now, and it does. It drops on down, and it goes right back to the support. Bounces. Of course, you don't really get a setup. This is an inside bar, but it does have a matching low. And you could call that a second entry, but that just looks really congestive. And you can see that midline showing some resistance there. I'm just not crazy about entering there. We run back down, of course, no short. We run back up, no long. Finally, we make a lower high back at the highs with a relatively bearish bar. So I like going short right there just to try to ride it back down again. And of course, we do bounce right at the lows, but it ends up pushing on lower. So if you really wanted to hang on for that, I'd probably exit at those lows. But if you wanted to hang on to that, you might could have picked up a little bit of a runner there. But you do already have a break of this trend working down, and there's a couple of legs down to a new low even right here. So, but of course it does. It breaks on out. It fails, makes a higher low right there. I marked this one green because that does look a little congestive, but it is a higher low on a breakout of not only the yellow, but also you could look at it as another breakout of the blue. And it's also right at previous support right here. So there's a good chance we're going to at least run back to the EMA, probably run back and test the breakout and the EMA, but this thing just keeps on shooting up. You don't get another chance to enter, and the next thing you know, you're rocketing lower again. And notice that you made a new swing high here, and you get a first entry, second entry long, it fails. It technically fails when it breaks lower right there. So you could go short right there. I'm not crazy about that one because it is really close to this support, and there's not much room here. It's also two legs back to the EMA. It's mostly sideways though, but that could indicate we haven't had a whole lot to the upside, so that could indicate we're going to break and go lower. So you may take that trade. And then it comes back and tests it again. Now you got a double test of the EMA and the breakout area and those two legs. So you could enter below this bar one tick, or if you didn't enter there, you could enter over here. And notice you made a lower high too. So it drops on down. And I did mark both of those green. They're a little aggressive. So we move on down. We get a break. Couple of legs down. We made a new low really on the original break and follow through to the downside. You don't get a chance to go long here. Not a very good signal bar. Again, these are inside and that's matching, but now you're almost back to the EMA, which is not probably a good move right here. But just a few minutes later, you get a failed second entry short. Technically, that looks like one leg up, so I'm not crazy about that. But there is a low, first entry, second entry. The big reason I really like this one is it pushes through the original support of the range and pulls back and tests it. Notice how it closes inside and closes higher with a decent signal bar. That's probably a good place to go long, just to see if, just to hopefully to at least ride it back to the midline and maybe all the way back to the highs again, which that does occur. I don't see any other entries in here that I really like, and into 2 o'clock. And even at 2 o'clock, you get a nice correction, but you only get a first entry. And we actually pushed up. Notice we actually have this channel, and we just kind of folded over into this flatter one, and then we get a break and 2 legs up, and then we're correcting again. So just not a lot of opportunities to enter. So not a lot of trades, but that's what I saw today. And there's just not much else you can say about it other than this is just a range day. And you might have adjusted this range as the day went on. You might have moved it on down here to around so. And then you end up getting this failed breakout. But again, you just didn't really get a very good opportunity on it. So, but you might have moved it to look like that. And you can see that does fit the midline and the end of the day. So it's probably correct. You can see it playing off the midline across there on both sides pretty much all day. So, and that would explain why we had a hard time going higher there, because this turned out to be the middle of the range. So anyway, I don't see any reason to drag this one out anymore. It's just not much happening. Hopefully it'll pick up. We're going into July 4th, but hopefully, my guess is it will probably not be a whole lot going on this week going into the 4th of July. I haven't looked at the trading calendar. I think the 4th falls on Saturday or Sunday. So I'm not sure when the holidays are going to be, if it'll be Friday or Monday. So we'll just have to look at the trading calendar, which I haven't done yet. So, but just be aware that the 4th of July holiday is coming up. And usually going into that holiday, it gets real slow. A lot of your professional traders and Wall Street types and they're all on vacation. This is when they take their vacations. And so it does slow down a little bit. It'll pick back up as school starts back in the fall. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get a little better movement tomorrow than we did today. But I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.